Hello and welcome to my 33rd water review for YouTube. Today is Friday, September 14th, 2018, and this week I will be doing yet another water review on the road in Scotland. I got a new hotel room with some mood lighting to spice up the background of these videos, and this week I'll be doing another British water. This week it is Lucozade Sport Fit Water. Lucozade Sport is a company out of Uxbridge, England, just west of London, and they designed Fit Water to help replenish the body's essential electrolytes after a workout. Now, the Lucozade Sport website is mostly a place just to find out where to buy Fit Water and Lucozade Sport's other products, so there wasn't a ton of information about the company. However, I did find it a nice, interesting fact. Lucozade Sport was actually bought by Suntory, or Beam Suntory, as you may know it as. Suntory is a Japanese company, beverage company, that is well known for all of the whiskey distilleries they've purchased up, specifically Japanese whiskeys. So I did find it interesting that they were purchasing a small water brand and I guess maybe a larger fitness and wellness brand out of England. So not a whole lot of information on the company, also not a whole lot of information on their environmental, social, or humanitarian initiatives, which makes it hard to really talk about the company history and interestingness. So instead, we are going to move on to bottle design and materials. And materials overall are pretty good. The bottle is made out of a nice, soft plastic, but not crinkly soft, a nice, high-quality feeling plastic. And the cap is definitely better than average, but not as nice as the plastic used in the bottle. It's a little bit rough and not the nicest looking. However, it is soft-touch plastic, which is good. What I did find strange about the design of this bottle, and its similar design kind of quirk as Ethos water, is that they have this nice sleek design for the bottle with no wrinkles or ripples or anything in the design, and then they seem to have transitioned to this rippled design on the bottom here, which makes it look like a traditional water bottle or one of the cheaper value brand waters. Moving on to the design of the label, it is a full wrap label from top to bottom, so there aren't really any issues with the label being wrinkly or crinkly, which is a good thing. And in terms of design, usually with these health and fitness waters, you get a ton of information and it's just bombarding you all over the label. But this label is actually quite simple in its design. You got the nice logo, you got some minerals, they tell you about the 4 electrolytes they've added, which we'll talk about later. And then they also have a few health claims, which I find a bit skeezy, but I guess I'm not really the target audience for this water. And then below, they have included a mineral and nutrition facts combo table, which is an interesting way of doing it, but it's nice to see it on there anyways. So the 4 electrolytes they have added to this water. There is 120 milligrams of sodium, chloride, and calcium in the bottle. This is a 600 milliliter bottle. And there is approximately 56 milligrams of magnesium. Now, from the research I've done, this gives the water a kind of odd smell and taste to it, and we will see for ourselves now. On the nose, I'm definitely getting like a sweet, chalky, papery note, almost like the smell you get from like a original almond milk or like one of those kind of nut beverages that they make. I think it's definitely like the chalky smell is from the calcium, and I don't know if the magnesium gives that smell. And then there's a sweetness to it, a little bit of a saltiness note on the nose. And it definitely comes out on the taste. You get the milky, almost chalkiness in the taste as well. The mixture of, I guess, probably the chlorine makes the mouthfeel soft. It has a softer mouthfeel to it. The salt, the sodium, doesn't really show up too strongly. I think it's mostly covered up by that chalky, milky taste. But you do get just a slight bit of sodium saltiness on the tip of the tongue right at the end of your drink. Now, a lot of people have reviewed this water and have mentioned the odd smell to it as well as the odd taste. And I would certainly agree with them. The calcium is very overpowering on both the nose and in the taste, as well as the mouthfeel. I can feel it coating the inside of my mouth with that kind of chalky feeling. But the whole purpose of Fit Water is to give you the electrolytes and not necessarily to be the best tasting water. Like a lot of these protein powders and whatnot don't necessarily taste the best. And they try to make them taste better with flavorings and whatnot, which maybe they should do that with Fit Water. Make it like a lemon or a cucumber mint or something. But just the plain water with nothing in it, you can definitely taste all of the stuff that they've added, which, depending on whether you mind that kind of milky, if you've had like an almond milk or something like that, you'll definitely know the smell, and it comes off in the taste a little bit as well. But overall, it's really up to your personal preference. It's weird. It's definitely not a smell or a taste you'd necessarily want or expect from a water, but it's not terrible. So that's all I have to say for Fit Water. Now we will go through the scoring. In terms of company history and interestingness, there really wasn't a ton of information on Fit Water other than that strange, interesting fact about them being purchased by Centauri. So, because I wasn't able to find a ton of information, I'm only really able to give them 1 out of 2.5 points. They do have a nice website. There's just not a lot of information about the company on it. It would be nice to have maybe a About Us page and maybe our initiatives for the environment or humanitarian initiatives, but really nothing there. So it's hard to give them more than 1 out of 2.5 points. In terms of bottle design and materials, they score quite well. The plastics used in the bottle especially are excellent, and the cap is definitely better than average. It also has a very nice large cap, so it's easy to drink. And really, the only design flaw is this bottom bit, which is kind of weird, and just the overall poorer quality of the lid. In terms of label design, the whole wrap of the label is quite nice. It's really alleviates a lot of those issues with the wrinkling and it peeling off and stuff like that you get when they just have that banner label around the middle and when it's only partially glued on. This is not as good as some label designs that are fully glued on and just most of the label, but this is just a step below that. What I'm not a huge fan of is they have a seam on this bottle, just like they did with the Canada Geese label design from a few weeks ago. I understand why they do it, that's just how they seal the label on, but it does make it a little bit cheap feeling. The design overall, though, is quite good, and they do have the necessary tables, which is a plus. In terms of taste, again, this is subjective. I personally don't mind the taste or the smell. I can see why people wouldn't like it. It's kind of shocking when you're expecting your water to not really taste like a whole lot. Having it taste like kind of the strange calcium, chalky, papery note that you get, and sort of sweet almost, is a little weird. And so I can really only give it 2 out of 4 points for taste. I also gave it, I forgot to mention this, 2 out of 2.5 points for bottle design and materials. In terms of value, I bought this from a gas station, so obviously the prices are going to be inflated, but I looked on the Lucozade website and you can buy a 12 pack of these 600 milliliter bottles for £7, which is approximately 60 pence a bottle, or 77 cents American, or $1 Canadian, which certainly isn't the cheapest, but not a bad value either, especially when they're putting all this effort into designing the water with adding electrolytes and doing health benefits and stuff like this. So, in terms of value, I give it 0.75 out of 1. It certainly isn't a great bang for your buck, especially with the weird taste. Some people might feel ripped off, but overall, it's not a terrible value. So, 0.75 out of 1. Adding this all up, Lucozade Sport Fit Water gets a final score of 5.75 out of 10, which isn't bad. In terms of health and wellness waters, it certainly doesn't score that greatly, but overall, I like what they're doing with adding all these electrolytes. It certainly hurts them in the taste score, and they should really buff up their website because that would have helped their score quite a bit. And just overall, not a terrible water. If you really don't care, if you just want something to drink after you work out and you really want those electrolytes and don't mind the taste, sure, go for it. I wouldn't bother buying this over something like a Smart Water or Life Water or like an Icelandic or Fiji, but if you really want it, I recommend it. To anyone else who's just looking for water, I would stay away from this. And that's about it. This is my final review from the road here in Scotland. I hope you enjoyed my change of scenery for the past few weeks. And please comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let me know which waters you would like me to review next. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week.